I grew up loving Judas Priest. I got into him when I was around 12 years old back in the early 80s. When Ripper joined Priest, and especially after I heard Jugulator, I was like, wow, okay, they're going to keep going, and this guy's amazing. Then when I heard they were going to make a movie based on the whole situation of Ripper being discovered, Ripper getting signed, and that Judas Priest were actually going to do the soundtrack for the movie, I was even more excited. The movie ended up being called Rockstar. Judas Priest turned out not to do the soundtrack and actually put the film, like, they didn't accept it. They didn't care for the film. I was under the impression the reason that they rejected the film was based on a scene earlier in the movie where the fictional band, Steel Dragon, make fun of their singer for being gay. And also the singer wasn't what he pretended to be. He was wearing a wig, the whole deal. And I heard that's why Priest ended up rejecting it. Turns out that may not be the case, so we're going to get into it here. The headline, they wanted a crazy amount of money. This is probably the real reason why Judas Priest backed out of the Rockstar film. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. The Verve Pipe frontman Brian Vander Ark wrote a song for and got into a role in the 2001 film Rockstar. Now, many people know that the film was originally intended to be a story mirroring the career of Tim Ripper Owens, who began in a Judas Priest tribute band and found himself in the band when Rob Halford left for a little over a decade back in the 90s. See, Vander Ark was fortunate enough to have read the original script titled Metal Gods and the revised script titled Rockstar. Between the first and the second scripts, the storyline separated itself from Priest and became something, well, a little bit more generic. Now, the question is, as I understand it, the script changed a bit and they wiped away a bit of the Judas Priest angle. Do you know what the story is behind that, why they deviated from the Judas Priest kind of story?
Yeah, I can only tell you what I heard. I don't remember who told me this, somebody in the business, but what I heard is that Judas Priest wanted a crazy amount of money because it's their story. Basically, they got Ripper Owens to take over, and they just wanted a lot of money, so, that's it.
Do you remember anything about the original script? Was Judas Priest explicitly mentioned in the script?
No, they weren't. In fact, they got the script called Metal Gods, and that was the one that I went through to write the song entitled Colorful. And then I hadn't heard anything for like a little while, and I just kind of dismissed it as they didn't want it. And then a while later, I got a script dropped off at my door called Rockstar. And I was like, what is this? And I read it, and I'm like, oh, well, this is kind of like Metal God. Then I got to the end, and they had printed the lyrics to Colorful in the script, and I hadn't even heard that they were going to use it at that point. So I called my manager, and I'm like, I think they just stole a song from us. And he said, I'll check. So he called and found out that they wanted to actually use it. So there were only two scripts that I saw, Metal God and Rockstar, and the only difference really, what was written in the early one was that there was a lot of drug use and it was a bit darker. In Rockstar, it became a little lighter, not so much drug use, but there were still some scenes of people being coked out and stuff. And then by the time the movie was filmed, and this probably has to do with Stephen Herrick, who was a great director and made a bunch of movies for Disney, doing like the Mighty Ducks and these other Disney movies. It might have had something to do with him, but they really toned down all the kind of rock and roll debauchery. But as far as Judas Priest, I don't remember the early script ever mentioning Priest. I think they came from the story that John Stockwell wrote, kind of from the angle of just, it was more about Ripper and less about the band. At least I think it started there, because that's the article he wrote.
Ian Hill has actually commented on Judas Priest's involvement with the film in a 2015 interview with Pop Matters.
Well, it was true work of fiction, When we heard about the production company, we were going to make the movie based as far as we knew about Ripper joining the band, and we offered our help. We said, if there's anything you want to know, talk to us at the time, and certainly our communication was cut off, and that was it. They just went off and they did their own tangent.
Vander Ark wrote a song called Colorful for the film. He also had a role in the movie along with Zakk Wylde and Miles Kennedy, as many others. Vander Ark had one ad lib. It was during a scene from the film you might remember where the tribute band Blood Pollution was putting flyers on cars, and they were approached by a rival tribute band fronted by Stephen Jenkins, who is the real singer of Third Eye Blind. And Vander Ark explains that
I do like Stephen Jenkins. I like those strong personalities, but it was taking a long time waiting for him for whatever reason. I have no idea what was going on, but he finally showed up and everybody was kind of grumbling about it. Then we were ready to go, and we saw him cross the parking lot in a scene where we were putting flyers on cars or whatever, and we noticed him, and I just said, I thought I smelled pussy, and Wahlberg and everybody cracked up. So they reset the shot, and so I was able to have that moment because they thought it was a great line.
Brian Vander Ark still tours with the Verve Pipe, who continue to release music independently to their immensely loyal and supportive fan base. And that's the article. Thanks for joining me. See you in the next one.